Hello and welcome to another edition of the video series that I'm doing as a support for the Future of Work Expo. My name is John Arnold. I'm the chair of this event, and we are, I believe, going into our seventh season for or iteration for this event, which, as you should know, it is part of the IT Expo overall experience in Fort Lauderdale, Florida, and we are running from February 11th to 13th. And Future of Work Expo is one of several sub-events that go kind of vertical with a deeper focus on a particular topic. And that's a nice complement to the broader big tent set of content that IT Expo delivers at the main show. And of course, the very big and busy and fun show floor, which will be a big focus once the exhibit hall opens up for the rest of the show. So that's kind of the backdrop, and I'm back with another video segment, and I'm doing these over a period of time to lead up to the event as a way to support and tell you about what we're doing with the event, and also to feature some of kind of the cast of characters who I work with to make this event happen, as well as some of our sponsors who we couldn't do this without. So today I'm going to be joined by Vern Fernandez from Jabra. Hey, Vern, and I'm going to put
Hi,
you on
John.
camera and on audio in a moment. And just to give some background, so Jabra is one of the sponsors of the event, and we've been exploring the intersection of audio and AI in the workplace and in the contact center. And this is one of those areas that I think is very lightly understood at best, but has tremendous upside and value when you start connecting the dots. So I think we're going to get into that now, Vern, as we set the stage for what we'll talk about at the event where you're going to be one of the panelists. So over to you for a little introduction and welcome to the interview podcast here.
Great. And thanks, John. It's really nice to be here and represent Jabra and talk to you about this topic today.
So you were maybe talk a bit first about your role at Jabra, because I think it's important to kind of see where you're coming from for the audience.
Sure. Yeah. I have been at Jabra for 12 years now, and I've been in the device business for over 20. And so my role here is the senior manager of alliances and business development. And I specialize in a lot of the contact center technologies, along with our AI technologies, CX technologies, some of our quality monitoring and analytics of our devices. So I can speak to a lot of about our, what we make and how you can see them, how you can troubleshoot them, how they contribute to CX, and how they contribute to AI initiatives in the future.
All right. Well, we have been and can go on a long time about this topic. It's pretty rich, and I think the main takeaway here, folks, is that if you think about headsets as kind of an afterthought, which is kind of the way it's been treated in the workplace and contact center environments, you are really missing the boat. There is a lot more to it than just putting something on your head so you don't disturb people around you. So when we get to this future of work theme, Vern, maybe let's talk a bit about what came before. I want to talk a bit about headsets for a moment or two, and then we'll tie it into the future work theme. So what really has changed so much in the past, even just 2 years? It's not a long time.
Yeah, I would say, it's always been important to have a really good voice between two people as they speak. Obviously, that's creates a great conversation, and that's kind of how headsets have been used for 50 years plus, for a long time. And I think the big thing that's happened in the last 2 years or 4 years, maybe even close to 10, is that AI is a stakeholder for voice data, video data that comes from the endpoint. And it's not just you and I, John, that have to have a great conversation, but the bot has to understand our words in order to translate it, in order to do things like agent assist or do things like Copilot or generative AI. We need to make sure that the voice is clear. So there are certain things that happen within headsets that are happening now, um, where maybe we just use them to talk, but now I can tell you if they're broken or not. I can also tell you if we're the part of the audio path that's actually the problem or not. And those are blind spots today for a lot of people that cannot see the endpoint the way that they used to see possibly, just a phone that went into some kind of controller unit, right? So the visibility of our devices is very important. That's kind of changed the game, and it's really a precursor to doing AI, right? How do we spend on all those licenses to do AI when we're not even sure where the problem with audio path could be? So those are some of the things that we're changing about the importance of our devices.
And when you make it real, it really makes a difference, right? Because we've often had poor quality headsets and obviously that just cascades from there. And I think the key idea here, because we are talking about the future of work and that AI is becoming the DNA for almost everything now, um, it's all about the data. And frankly, the audio part of the conversation is less about the fidelity so two humans can understand each other. It's really more about how machine learning, the AI side of it, things is capturing that. So it's no longer about voice, but voice as a data stream.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I can expand into kind of what we're doing on video as well, which is really important. A lot of people are, it feels like cameras were so 15 to 20 years ago when we started putting them in offices, right? But cameras are a lot more important now today because we're working with folks like, our alliance partners because they actually want to make movies about these interactions that we have, right? If you can think about what a camera should be doing in an AI perspective, it's going to point to the people that are talking. It's going to point to important information that needs to be a part of the call. It's going to help take the voice data and transcribe it in, let's just say, a Microsoft or a Zoom or whoever wants to transcribe it. Generative AI is going to kind of create the cliff notes to what happened during that particular meeting. And you're also going to figure out who the cast and the credits are. A lot of the AI now is who showed up by facial recognition or by voice recognition. So that, let's just say that we were kind of transcribing this, video, John. At the end of the day, we can have a movie of literally just what happened, produced by our camera in conjunction with some of the AI features that these folks want to pull out of the meetings. And it's all about becoming a little bit more productive, getting to answer quicker, collaborating better, and having the various players involved, like you and I, feel like we've got the ability to speak at the table equally, have as much power and influence equally. So these are things that the devices really help generate when it comes to AI. It's not just here's the data that I fed you, but can you get a close up of someone? Someone? Can you get a close up of this? Is it moving around when I move around? There's a lot of AI involved with that, with the endpoint devices as well. When you talk about what people like Jabra are doing.
hmm Yeah. I mean, ultimately, I think where AI is going to, where we won't think twice about it is its ability to create human-like experiences in digital form. So, like now, when we are seeing each other. If we were in the same room, we could be touching each other by shaking hands. We could be doing all the senses, right? But here, in this world, typically audio has been one thing, video has been another thing. And like you say, but now we don't, it's all integrated. And when you start looking at what some of the collab vendors are doing with video in terms of more immersive 3D type of experiences, it's becoming more and more lifelike, where
Yeah.
that division, and this is where we come to future work, right? Excuse me, between the in-person experience and the virtual becomes less and less. And of course, this all points to the metaverse, which maybe our generation isn't going to embrace, but my kids certainly would get it. And
Mhm.
not long from now, they probably wouldn't think twice about it, right?
Right. Right. And we're really preparing for any kind of AI that comes through the future. It could be customer support through the metaverse. It could be, even just conferencing through the metaverse. It could be, simplifying these meetings here. And we're also really considering where people want to work as well, too. And
Mhm.
today we're talking in quiet offices. I'm using a speaker today, but you know, what if I was generating AI, what if I was prompting AI in a coffee shop as a Gen Zer because I want to work there? I kind of need a headset for that, right? Um, I can talk to my laptop all I want, even if things like noise cancellation get really, really good, but I can't necessarily walk around from my laptop to create that data, right? So we're also considering where and how people want to be able to work, and that's part of employee retention and all sorts of bigger stories. And I think one of the big things that we see out in the market is that the device procurement and consideration has been in the hands of procurement and IT for the last, let's just say, 40 to 50 years. But now I really think that we need to elevate the conversation up to the business and allow the business to kind of figure out, what do I want to do with AI, and how does that device really enable us to do things with AI, right?
Yeah.
So I think that's a big thing that needs to happen at our levels. We need to be considered as a vital part of architecture versus like plug us in later.
Right. Yeah. It's a very much a strategic kind of conversation. So when we look at our program for the for Future Work Expo, one of the Wednesday sessions is about UCAS, and the theme there is basically UCAS is the future of work, and that, and that includes devices, of course, and endpoints. But maybe I'd like to get your take on how you see that theme for future work.
Yeah. So um, I do think that people want to choose how they want to interact with the business or want to interact with each other, whether it be through chat or through email or through social media or through the metaverse or through video or through voice. And I think that unification is kind of what we're talking about, bringing everything together. And this is something that um, you know I think in the initial part of AI and putting this all together, it's a little bit complicated because there's a lot of people in the sandbox to put together to put the solution that you want for your particular business. Um, but once we can put those solutions together, what I kind of envision is, are people having resources at their fingertips to answer questions? I also envision bots taking a lot of the easy types of questions as much as possible. I see UCAS tools and companies really sharing knowledge that's might have been tribal in the past, to be able to pull out that information from real experts in the field. And I see the people kind of communicating in that way to get that expertise out, however it's going to come through, right? So to me, it's not just UCAS and unified communications as a service. It's really about dipping down into those resources to find the best answers to me, to get to the humans involved who want to chat and talk however they want to talk in the future. So the flexibility is what I'm looking forward to with UCAS.
Yeah, and I think that speaks to an important point, Vern, about, at least now it is humans who are doing the work,
Yeah,
right? We're going towards, the singularity will come, and there will be the bots who will do more and more of the work, and we may well just become orchestrators of the bots and not really doing a whole lot of work. That could happen. I don't, maybe not in my lifetime, but I think that's kind of the underlying, to me, takeaway for this about where the technology is fitting in and shaping what the future of work looks like. It's still, you know, for humans, well, so much sort of by humans, but it's for humans. And we have to kind of keep that front and center. That
yeah,
because in everything seems to be about technology now. Every business is a technology business, and if we're not careful, the workers may get the impression with all this stuff coming that they don't really understand. They may view it as a threat, right, to their jobs. And I think that's an
yeah,
important part of when we say UCAS is the future of work. It's keeping the workers in the middle of that. That right. We're not
yeah,
trying to phase them out.
yeah. I think a big challenge for people deploying anything is that this is supposed to save time. Email was supposed to save time, and what do humans do? We end up filling that time with more work, right? And I think those are one of the things that we need to consider as people, that just because we can be possibly more productive and have bots do half the work, where do we find personal balance in there? Where, how does that change humanity and work are really big esoteric questions to start asking.
Oh yeah, for sure. That's like taking it to, another level with the automation and productivity. And
Right.
as you say, there is really no limit to how productive we potentially could be with AI. But that just really turns us more out of from being human workers to basically robotic workers who work 24/7 and never stop, never take a break, never complain,
Yeah.
all that stuff. Well, we don't want to be there yet, but.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's talk in a couple more minutes. I want to talk about another session that's coming on the program, and that is the idea of evolving workspaces. And,
Mm.
we view this, certainly my partner Chris Fine and I on our Watch the Space podcast, we talk a lot about this, the physical environment, the spaces themselves, how that's evolving because it is another kind of byproduct of how the workplace is changing. How do you see that going? I mean, you've certainly, I'm sure, seen with your customers some changing layouts of how they configure things and what pieces they use as endpoints and devices.
Yeah, being in the business as long as we have and stuff and being in devices for 20 years, I've seen it go from closed offices with doors to cubes with high walls to cubes with low walls to open spaces that act more like a coffee shop and you work wherever you want. We've seen people kind of have cubes and stuck their entire identity in the cubes and lost their identity when they lost the cubes. I've seen people create their identity in the backs of their rooms now, So, creating identity in my space here is the same thing we did in cubes. And I think that workspaces not only need to be somewhere where you can be productive, but somewhere you can also express yourself too, right? And I think there's a balance when you look at a building. If all I do is work in open spaces, how do people know who I am, right? So I think that some of those cultural things are happening in workspaces when it comes to devices and how we work in those. Um, we want to be able to set you up in a virtual office wherever you stand, wherever you may sit. If you're walking and talking, if you're working out and talking, if you're in a van on a mountain talking, if you're in a conference room and talking, we say that work is really not a place; it's a thing that you do here at Jabra, right? And that's changing. I think what's happening with a lot of the kids, even my kids included, they're watching me be hybrid. They're watching me. I can show up to their games and stuff, and I can do work because I have the right headset and the right devices and the right cameras. And that generation is going to want to expect to do the same, kind of be hybrid and move around and create workspaces wherever they want. So, how do we put that together with the AI that we want to develop? Is a key thing that we have to take a look at as a workforce, especially with the knowledge workers. But that's how I see things kind of evolving now. If you want to bring people back to the office, I would say plan around Gen Z and what they need, um, and create some of those social spaces, those collaborative spaces. And those of us who are Gen X and above, we'll go there because of fear of missing out. The FOMO will bring us in, right? But I would say if you're looking to plan your spaces out, take a look at Gen Z and what they're looking at needing to be that next generation of productivity for your company as far as workspaces go.
Yeah, yeah, great, great. And another thing, by the way, talking about, it's the humans who are the workers, so to speak, still. Another reason why what Jabra does is so important is because as humans, speech is still our main and preferred mode of communicating, right? If we
Yeah.
went to an all text world, or we just were reduced to simple gestures, we wouldn't need to worry about audio quality. But the richness of voice, the subtleties of the language, etc. These are the hard problems for AI to solve, but they're getting better and better all the time. And this is really important. I think, when the business leaders and the technology leaders are making investment decisions, right, about their their physical approach to work. Where is it going to happen, and what's going to have to happen to make that work well? And we're still, we have to talk. We have to. The speech part
Yeah.
is where most of the kind of the I don't know institutional knowledge of the culture resides and comes from. and that's
Yeah,
what I pick up on.
have an example of that. I have a millennial and I have three Gen Zers as kids. And one of my Gen Zers, he's had two or three hybrid jobs now. And, even working in Hawaii for, as a remote job, it's great. But, he was in his 20s and he missed the community of being able to go to the office. But he also wanted to choose when he wanted to go to the office, right? So, I see that there's a lot of opportunity to build that community of workers that will work with AI. And it's going to be that generation or these future generations. But, um, you know, I remember when I was in my 20s, I made some of the best friends in my life. And, a hybrid job is great, but I can't make friends if I'm constantly away from them, right? So I think finding that balance with how you build your buildings out or how you create your communities, I think is really important because yeah, there's a lot of bots involved when it comes to AI, but hopefully that draws us closer as humans because we have to talk about more complex things to solve them, right?
Yeah.
So I'm hoping that that's one of the kind of results of AI in the future is that we actually communicate more.
That's a good way to end. I like that. We have to communicate more and better and all the time. Great.
Right.
All right. Well, I think that covers our ground pretty nicely here, Vern. So I want to thank you for doing this interview with me today. And we're going to see you in Fort Lauderdale pretty soon. And I look forward to having you on a panel and hearing from you much like what we're talking about here. So
Great. Thanks a lot, John.
thank you. All right, so that's time for today, folks. So thank you for listening and watching us here on the video interview today. And again, I'm John Arnold, chair of the Future Work Expo. To learn more about the program, our speakers, and yes, how to register and attend, you can go to the website for the event, futureofworkexpo.com. And you can also follow more about it. I certainly blog about it on my website and on LinkedIn. And we talk about it on my podcast, Watch This Space. All of the stuff you can find on my website, jarnoldassociates.com. And Vern, if people want to find out more about you, where do they go looking?
You can find me here at Jabra. You can find me on LinkedIn. I'm at vfernandez@jabra.com. Email me anytime. I'm always good for conversation.
Conversation. There's the right word. Okay. Thanks. And everybody, again, thank you for coming. And we hope to see you in Florida in February.